Our question of the day, we asked what's the number one thing that would get you to change jobs? Most of you said higher pay. Now, if that's you, start thinking about long-term earning potential, not just the starting paycheck. A new study from Wave Connect looked at which careers reward workers most over time, comparing early career pay to what people make later on. Here's a list of careers that deliver the biggest salary increases over time. We're talking pilots at the top, with salaries growing about 4% a year and eventually reaching up to $460,000. They're followed by financial advisors, architects, market research analysis, and telecom equipment installers. That last job often doesn't require a 4-year degree, by the way, a sign that you don't always need a bachelor's to see big income growth over your career.